being a doctor and a soldier didn't really go together. As a doctor, he wanted to save people's lives, but as a soldier, he had to terminate lives for his cause. So, back to our question, what did Che Guevara's heart desire to be? We know that the revolutionary leader, anti imperialist icon, and symbol of resistance, Ernesto Che Guevara, was many things. We know, for example, that he was a poet, he was a writer because he wrote books, such as this one, and he was an astronomy enthusiast. We know this because he talks about using stars to find the way for his troops, but he also admits that he wasn't really good at it. Above all, Guevara was a doctor and a soldier. In fact, he was comandante, which is the highest military rank in guerrilla army. But now that we know Guevara was all of these things, what did his heart desire to be? In his book, Reminiscence of the Cuban Revolutionary War, Guevara constantly talks about his dilemma between his devotion to medicine as a doctor and his enthusiasm for the Revolutionary War as a soldier. And this caused a lot of conflict for him. You see, Guevara initially joined the guerrilla forces or guerrilla fighters as their doctor because he was a doctor. But he later became so involved with the idea of saving his people and liberating them that he also started to use a rifle as a soldier. And this caused a lot of conflict for Che Guevara because being a doctor and a soldier didn't really go together. As a doctor, he wanted to save people's lives, but as a soldier, he had to terminate lives for his cause, especially if he felt that his own life was at risk. We hear and read about this conflict a lot in his book that he wrote himself. For example, Che Guevara talks about Fidel Castro's order. So Fidel was the leader of the guerrilla fighters, Fidel Castro. And Fidel had ordered Che Guevara to make sure that all the soldiers, injured soldiers from the enemy's army, are treated with care and respect. And that included giving the soldiers of the enemy army medical care. And Che Guevara talks about the conflict that he had when he was performing this task because he wanted to save the medicine for his own troop as a soldier, but at the same time, he had to treat the enemy soldier as the doctor and listen to his leader. So that caused a lot of conflict and had a lot of implications for Che Guevara himself. It's important to note that on the 26th of June 1957, Che Guevara started his new role as the dentist of the rebel army or the guerrilla army. And he would treat his own troop and also people in the villages. And so on page 92, I believe, in the book, he talks about how his first victim was Israel. He was another comrade in his troop. The funny thing is that nobody really called him a dentist. He became known as the tooth puller because he would just pull out teeth. But without any anesthetics or any real medicine, really, because they were in a war. Che Guevara really relied on what he called psychological anesthetics. And the psychological anesthetics usually meant using harsh words to sort of help his troops really handle the pain. Although he also acknowledges that this probably wasn't a good idea, but he didn't really know what else to do. And there are some pictures of him in the book, and I don't know if there's one of him pulling a tooth, but I know there are some pictures of him pulling tooth from different members of his group. But he does say that he became a tooth puller, and although he wasn't good at it, he exercised it with great enthusiasm. So, back to our question, what did Che Guevara's heart desire to be? He was many things, and above all, he was a doctor and a soldier. And the conflict between these two roles was especially evident in his conduct and also in his own writing. The answer may be on page 17 of this book, where he talks about having to carry two bags, two very heavy bags, one of medicine and one with ammunition. Well, they get caught obviously in a war zone, and they're trying to escape or run, and Guevara has to make a decision to save one of his bags. And he reflects on this a lot, because he thinks about which bag he should save. And we need to bear in mind that he started as a medical doctor in the army. But interestingly enough, he decides to save the bag with ammunition and drop the bag of medicine, which shows again how much he wanted to be a soldier. And he mostly saw himself as a soldier too. So I guess the answer to our question is that he was always a revolutionary soldier at heart. This book is a great book to read. It gives us insight into Che Guevara's thoughts and mindset, but also how he felt about different segments or different aspects of his life as a revolutionary soldier. It's also quite light-hearted at times, which is just nice and refreshing to read. Please do let me know if you have read this book and your thoughts on it.